What's up, everybody? It's Clark here for the BOS Sports Podcast. Reeling after the Atlanta Hawks lose a tough one in overtime at Madison Square Garden to the New York Knicks. The fans there at Madison Square Garden, they get the last word this time as the New York Knicks win 149-148, an absolute nail-biter there for us Atlanta Hawks fans. The Atlanta Hawks, they scored 6 points in 6 seconds in the final 10 seconds of regulation to tie the game 137-137. It was a game which also the Atlanta Hawks, they came back from a maximum deficit of 18 points. They were down by double digits and multiple points in the game, including in the final 10 seconds prior to when the Atlanta Hawks scored that 6 points in 6 seconds. Jalen Brunson scored and hit what felt like the absolute dagger there around the 11-second mark in regulation, putting the Hawks down by 6 points. But here they came back in the final seconds to tie it. It's a game which saw brilliant play by all the stars. The fans there at Madison Square Garden, they absolutely got their tickets worth. They saw a brilliant game by Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns. Trae Young, he had a monstrous double-double tonight with 38 points, 19 assists. He did have 9 turnovers. Tough day in the turnover margin for Trae Young, as well as he shot 11 for 29 from field, 39.9% for Trae Young, 4 for 11 from three-point land. The Atlanta Hawks overall had 6 players in double digits, including Caris LeVert, who came over just last week in trade from Cleveland Cavaliers. He had 20 points today. As well, had a nice shooting day. 8 for 13 from the field for Caris LeVert, 61.5%. As well, he had 3 blocks. Very active on defense. Georges Niang, he is very active on defense as well. He had 2 steals and 1 steal and 2 blocks. As well, he had well over double digits with a nice 21-point day. 8 for 16 shooting from the field, including 4 for 10 from the three-point land for Georges Niang. As well, he had 4 rebounds and 3 assists. Nice day for Georges Niang. As well, just came over in trade from Cavaliers. Dyson Daniels, he had 23 points. Well, 4 steals, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Absolutely stuffing the stat sheet tonight. Dyson Daniels. Great shooting day from the field. 10 for 15 from field was Dyson Daniels as well. 2 for 3. As well, Onyeka Okongwu. He had an absolute monstrous double-double with 21 points, 14 rebounds, 4 for 9 shooting from the field. He struggled a little bit at the free throw line, 3 for 8. As well, he had 3 blocks, 3 steals. Zachary Shohei, he had 16 points, 6 for 11 shooting. Nice shooting day for Zachary Shohei. As well, we saw an uptick in minutes with Zachary Shohei. We saw him display well under 20 minutes this other day. And today he played 30 minutes. Uptick. Of course, they did have the overtime period. We did see an interesting lineup in the final moments of overtime where Trae Young was subbed out for defensive purposes. But Jalen Brunson, he still hit the game-winning shot, as that was a bit of a recurring theme. As Jalen Brunson, he had incredible 36 points, 8 assists. Yes, and 3 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns, he had the game high with 44 points. Precious Acuña, who's in a contract year, he is an unrestricted free agent. And then this year, he had 26 points as well for the New York Knicks. As well, a 12 for 16 day from the field. Nice shooting day for Precious Acuña. Well, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. So in this episode, we're going to do a recap of Hawks versus Knicks, and then a very big, very long segment on the Atlanta Braves. Of course, February 12th, this is the day pitchers and catchers report for Atlanta Braves. The season, spring training has officially started in MLB and with the Atlanta Braves today. So we'll get into that and more. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So to recap, Hawks Knicks. It was the Jalen Brunson show in the first quarter as he had 16 points, 5 assists, 6 for 7 shooting from the field, all in the first quarter for Jalen Brunson. Dyson Daniels as well for Atlanta Hawks went off in the first quarter, having 4 for 7 shooting from the field with 10 points. Trae Young with assists, as always, having 19 on the day. 5 of those came for Trae Young in the first quarter as well. He had a nice low turnover rate there in the first quarter with only 1. Karl-Anthony Towns, he was the next to put on the show for the New York Knicks. Of course, coming off the back-to-back last night, facing the Pacers, Indiana. They came in, absolutely set the tone for the New York Knicks on their way to the win. Of course, they had to pull out some extra strings at the win. But going into the All-Star break, both teams were maximum effort as well. We also saw Trae Young see an uptick in minutes, of course, with overtime period being 5 minutes. But Trae Young, he's been averaging about 36 minutes per game this season. Tonight, 44 minutes. So even if you account for him playing the entire overtime period, which he did sit out for a little bit of time, that's about 3 minutes extra play for Trae Young. Absolutely giving full effort, giving New York Knicks fans there at Madison Square Garden their money's worth on their ticket. So with 48 seconds there in the first quarter, Caris LeVert, he got a layup off and press and play made by Trae Young. And the Knicks, backtrack that. Knicks, after first quarter, were up 38-29 over the Hawks. The second quarter, Knicks led by as many as 18 in that point. They gained their highest margin of the contest in the second quarter, but the Hawks cut back the score by 8 points by halftime. As by the 48-second mark of the second period, Caris LeVert got impressive layup play made by Trae Young, one of his 19 assists on the day, as the Hawks got back to a 10-point margin at that 48-second mark of the second period, 66-56 Knicks at the time. And then here comes Onyeka Okongwu with a buzzer-beating layup. Another assist by Trae Young, 68-60. Cutting the Knicks lead to single digits by halftime after trailing by 18 points earlier in that quarter. Dyson Daniels, by halftime, he had 18 of his 23 points on the day already. By halftime for Dyson Daniels as well. 2 steals, 3 rebounds, 8 for 11 shooting in the first half for Dyson Daniels. 72.7% from field, Dyson Daniels in the first half as well. 2 for 3 from three-point land. Trae Young, he had 7 points, 2 turnovers, 9 assists, 2 for 11 shooting the first half for Trae Young. He certainly struggled a little bit from the field, having 18.2% shooting rate from the field there in the first half. As well as Trae Young played in the second half. His first half is kind of what weighed down his stats in his shooting percentage overall for the game. So Caris LeVert already had 10 points at that point. First half, shooting 4 for 8 from the field. Karl-Anthony Towns, he already had 24 of his 44 points in the first half, with 18 of those in the second quarter. He had 4 rebounds and 4 turnovers as well in the first half. As Karl-Anthony Towns, he had a nice double-double with 44 points, 10 rebounds. Not quite as many rebounds as Onyeka Okongwu had, though, today with 14 rebounds. Onyeka Okongwu had 5 offensive rebounds. Karl-Anthony Towns had 1 offensive rebounds, but he did clean up the defensive board there for New York Knicks. Of course, we look in this podcast, 3 key stat categories, whether or not basketball team wins the game. Of course, that's field goal percentage, rebounding, turnovers. Let's see how the teams did. Well, the Knicks handily won the field goal percentage margin today's game. outshooting the Atlanta Hawks 57.4% compared to the Hawks 50%. The rebounding margin, the Atlanta Hawks won 63-50. Turnover margin, the Atlanta Hawks won as well, having 12 turnovers compared to New York Knicks 17. So we see a difference there made up not only in the field goal percentage, but as well free throw shooting. New York Knicks made 37 free throws, a lot of those by Jalen Brunson. Brilliant play by Jalen Brunson. The Hawks, they shot 68.6% from free throw line. 24 for 35. Ooh. You just make one more of those, the game's tied going to double overtime, which I was certainly hoping for. So back here to the first half stats here. Hawks, Knicks. 68 at halftime. Karl-Anthony Towns, he had 24 points, aforementioned. Jalen Brunson, he had 20 points in the first half. 20 of his 35, 36 on the day. Jalen Brunson had 20 of his 36 points in the first half, as well as he's had 5 assists and 0 turnovers. Jalen Brunson playing a very clean brand of basketball as well. He shot 8 for 11 from the field. Third quarter, it start with, you guessed it, Trae Young assist. His 10th assist of the day. And now you pass to Onyeka Okongwu. Onyeka's 8th point on his way to his monstrous 21.14 rebound double-double on the day. Great effort by Onyeka Okongwu, who played just under 41 minutes today. We saw an uptick in OO's minutes tonight, too. Of course, Larry Nance Jr. Forgot to mention earlier. So we were updated today by the Atlanta Hawks. Both Vit Krejci and Larry Nance Jr., they've suffered fractures from Monday night's collisions. Larry Nance Jr., he collided with Franz Wagner there in the fourth quarter. And that resulted in a fracture, a minor fracture in the leg. It is devastating to see the injury, and honestly, I feared it potentially being worse by Larry Nance Jr.'s reaction, him having to be carried off the court. Commented on X online that Franz Wagner, he appeared to chicken wing out there and appeared to stick his leg out there and trip Larry Nance Jr. It appeared like it should have warranted a replay and a flagrant one foul. It was certainly not as egregious as the play earlier on Vit Krejci by the Orlando Magic player who just basically pulled him down from the rim by the head and smacked him on his back. If that was LeBron James, they probably would have taken that player to jail. And since it's Vit Krejci, flagrant one foul. Not even an injection, not even a suspension, not even a fine. Absolutely ugly play. The Hawks got hosed by the referees, by the refereeing officials. Not sure how much effect it would have on this game, but the effect that we were focusing on just a minute ago was Onyeka Okongwu playing an uptick in minutes today, playing just under 41 minutes. So, to start the third quarter, aforementioned Trae Young's 10th assist. Then later, Onyeka Okongwu getting his scoring game going. Gets a nice floater there at the 10-minute, 43-second mark. As action starts to pick up in this game. Really heat up there in that second half. Precious Acuña hit a floater, his 12th point, and Cat got a lay-in. Then and one there at the 9-minute, 51-second mark. Knicks back up 73-64. And right after that, Zachary Shohei, he had a turnover. And here comes Cat again for another and one after the turnover. 75-64 after he makes the free throw. Karl-Anthony Towns, 30th point there. At the 8-minute, 53-second mark, Zachary Shohei, he got a nice score in transition. After him and Dyson Daniels, they got a steal on the other end. Dyson was credited with the steal and the score at that point. Hawks cut back single digits, 76-88. But Karl Anthony Towns, he answered back right after that with 2 straight 3-pointers. Aforementioned, he had that amazing 7 for 10 day from 3-point land. 2 of those came right after that nice steal. And Zachary Shea breakaway dunk, transition score, which would see the Knicks lead go back up to 14. They're at the 8-minute, 13-second mark off of Karl Anthony Towns, 36-point. Milgay at the 7-minute, 33-second mark. He got a nice block there for Karl Anthony Towns. A little bit of a highlight play for Milgay. We had a little bit of a tough day. 0 for 6 day for Milgay. 3 rebounds, 2 for 2 from free throw line. 0 for 4 from 3-point land. A little bit of a tough day for Milgay. There at the 7-minute, 33-second mark, he got a nice block there on Cat there. So 6-minute, 58-second mark. Trae Young got a 3-point shot. His 11-point in the day, 84-72. 5-minute, 21-second mark. Georges Niang, he got a 3-pointer. 88-79 Knicks. Zachary Shea, he got a 3-pointer. Pulling the Hawks even closer at the 4-minute, 37-second mark. 88-82 Knicks. 4-minute, 13-second mark, third quarter. Karl Anthony Towns, he hits a 3-point shot. His 39th point of the day. Putting the Knicks back up by 9. 91-82. Onyeka Okongwu, he didn't answer off Caris LeVert's 8th assist of the day. Caris LeVert, he'd wind up having 7 assists today. As Caris LeVert, he nearly had a triple-double today. Caris LeVert, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Nice defense as well. 3 blocks. I missed that in the opening. My apologies. Caris LeVert, he had a double-double. My goodness. Nearly a triple-double. And a nice play as well at the 3-minute, 41-second mark, third quarter. Layup off of Dyson Daniels, third steal on the break. 3-minute, 20-second mark on the line. Dyson Daniels, 4th steal. Then Terrence, fourth foul. And Terrence Mann had to sub in for Dyson Daniels there late in the third quarter. Caris LeVert, he had the answer there after Jalen Brunson went to the free throw line, pulling the Hawks back within 4, 92-88. Brunson, he had the answer on the other end. 94-88, 2-minute, 48-9-second mark there, the third quarter. Brunson then had an and 1 after that, putting the Knicks back up by 7, 95-88. Georges Niang, he had an answer on the other end with a layup off of Trae Young's 13 assists. As and 1 play as well, he made the free throw. Foul on Jalen Brunson, trying to take charge there. 95-91 Knicks. Trae Young, 2-minute, 20-second mark, his 13th point, as he really started to cook there in the fourth quarter. And scoring, having a nice second half there. Mikal Bridges, though, had the answer there at the 1-minute, 57-second mark with 3-point shot in the corner. 193 Knicks. But Georges Niang, he had an answer on the other end, on his way to a 21-point game with 3-pointer of his own. 102-96 off Caris LeVert's 6 assists. 6 out of 7 for Caris LeVert. 7 assists. So, Leonard Shamat got a bucket there around the 1-minute, 11-second mark, third quarter, putting the Knicks up 102-96. Trae Young, he then had the answer at the other end. Third quarter was highly contested, as from about the midway point, third quarter, to end overtime, this game was just absolutely back and forth. Knicks, Hawks at each other this whole time. He hits both those as Trae Young. He had nearly perfect day from free throw line, 12 for 14 today. And then he hits a 3-point shot seconds later with 4 seconds left in third quarter, clutch, as Trae Young has been 104-101. the final score after 3 quarters. Knicks up by 3 points. Before we recap the fourth quarter and overtime, I have a quick station identification. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So going down the stretch, the fourth quarter opened with a Precious Acuña dunk, his 14th point. There at the 11-minute, 44-second mark. Aforementioned, he's a free agent after this season. Be interesting to see what happens with Precious Acuña, New York Knicks. Of course, they just signed OG Anunoby. He did not play in this game. So campaign there. After the Precious Acuña show, it was a campaign show. As the Knicks got off to a 9-0 run to start the fourth quarter campaign, he got a layup there at the 10-minute, 47-second mark. He got free throws there at the 10-minute, 49-second mark. Then another layup there at the 10-minute, 12-second mark. The Hawks, they could just not score there to open the fourth quarter. Aforementioned 9-0 run. Knicks up 113-101. Looked like the Knicks were pulling away again. But here comes the Hawks again. They pull it back within 3 points by the 4-minute, 47-second mark there, the fourth quarter. As Trae Young, he hit a 29-foot three-point jump shot just inside the New York Knicks logo there at Madison Square Garden. His 26-point, 124-121 Knicks. As Trae Young's 26-point on his way to a 38-point day. Hawks on a 20-11 run there. After the 9-0 run by the Knicks to start the fourth quarter, Hawks went on a 20-11 run with dunks by Zachary Richey and Onyeka Okongwu, some highlight reel plays for the Knicks there, or the Hawks there. Another Trae Young three at the 6-minute, 4-second mark. Nearly a minute and a half prior to the Trae Young three that pulled the Hawks within 3 points. So Karl Anthony Towns, he got his 42nd mark, his 42nd point there at the 5-minute, 4-second mark. Putting the Knicks back up by 6, 124-118 there, with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But here comes the Atlanta Hawks back, as by the 1-minute and 56-second mark, Dyson Daniels, he got a lay-in, pulling the Hawks back in within 1 point, 128-127. But here comes Jalen Brunson, 3-point shot, felt like an absolute dagger there, as it put the Knicks back up by 4, 131-127. But here comes Trae Young, savvy play by Trae Young, 7th year in the league, already looking like a very seasoned veteran. He gets the free throw line on the other end, hits both free throws, as he had a nice 12 for 14 day, aforementioned from free throw line. 131 to 129. Knicks up by 2. But here comes Jalen Brunson on the other end, and he gets a nice bucket. 1-minute, 8-second mark, putting the Knicks back up by 4. Felt like another potential dagger there. But here comes Trae Young, willing the Atlanta Hawks to a tie by the end of regulation with his lay-in drive there, pulling the Hawks back within 2 points, 133-131. Here's where things get hairy. Acuña, Precious Acuña, he gets a putback layup. Offensive board. Oh, we got to pause here for station identification. I got to plug in the power source. Oh, you gotta always plug in the power source. All right, so Precious Acuña, he gets a put back and layup there at the 29.5 second mark of regulation after getting the offensive rebound. And here comes the Hawks on the other end. They try to get a shot off. Did not work. They try to get the offensive rebound. And it resulted in a very dangerous play there by Georges Niang going for the ball, loose ball there. He took out Josh Hart. And Josh Hart wound up going to the free throw line. And that might not have been a bad result overall, as he'd go 1 for 2, putting the Cavs up 137 to 131 at that point. But here comes Georges Niang just seconds later after causing that loose ball foul. They're at 9 minute and 2 second mark. He gets a 3-point shot, 137 to 134. Hawks back within 3. Dyson Daniels, he then gets a steal off inbound pass, makes one, gets the free throw line after making the shot. It was just nearly an and one play, but Dyson Daniels, he gets the free throw line. And fortunately, he only goes 1 for 2. But maybe fortunately, he goes 1 for 2. As Onyeka Okongwu, he gets the offensive rebound on the board. Trae Young, he got fouled. Josh Hart absolutely bailed out the Hawks there at 2.9 second mark. Trae Young, they were absolutely in shambles. I was screaming at the TV, take a timeout. And instead, Josh Hart fouls him. And that was a blessing. Thank you, Josh Hart. Causing this game to go into overtime as Trae Young, absolutely cold as ice from free throw line, aforementioned 12-14 on day. Makes both of them 137 to 137. Jalen Brunson, he then had a nice look at a step back 3-point shot. And as well as he's been shooting today, I thought he had it. But he missed it. Hawks, Knicks go to overtime. And the Hawks got off to a nice lead there early in overtime. I thought they were going to pull it out. As at the 4-minute, 44-second mark, Trae Young had his 36 and I believe 36 point of the day to give the Hawks the first lead. And at the 4-minute, 10-second mark, Karis LeVert had a 3-point shot on the break. Trae Young's 19th assist. Hawks are balling out. Up by 5, 142, 137. Trae Young has 19th assist. I thought we'd have another Trae Young 20 assists a game, a steal there, and then the regulation versus the Knicks. But Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, they put the team on their back. The Hawks did not have an answer. As he gets put back on Jalen Brunson's attempt. The 3-minute, 52-second mark. 44th and final point of the day. Trae Young, he got a turnover. Some questionable decision-making there. Some questionable play calling there in the overtime period as the Hawks were very inefficient on offense. Quinn Snyder, he challenges the call on the other end as Dyson Daniels was called for a foul on a strip play on Jalen Brunson and Lane on the other end. Challenge unsuccessful. I have to look back on it on the replay. I tend to look back on replays like those over the days following the broadcast. On the broadcast, it looked like it was a foul, but I had to go to the bathroom, so I didn't catch very many of those replays there. I'll catch some replays on that and leave a comment under this video here on X here. So Jalen Brunson, he made both free throws after the referees upheld that foul. 142-141 Knicks. Trae Young, he goes for a quick 3 right after that. The long rebound, it bounces right off to Jalen Brunson. In transition, he gets a quick basket. 143-132. Knicks take the lead back. Trae Young, another turnover. One of his 9. Cool. Tough overtime there for Trae Young. But the Hawks got the ball right back. Karis LeVert drives, get the free throw line, but he misses both. Aforementioned, the Hawks just had to make one more free throw. And a 68.6% effort from free throw line. One more of the day, I believe, would have pulled them to not only above 70%, but also the tie there in double overtime. That would have been a lot of fun. Might not have won, but would have been a double overtime game right before the All-Star break. I guess us fans can't be too worried about any potential bad things happening. So, Hawks, they got stopped. Dyson Daniels, forced steal and fast break. Trae Young, he misses the shot, but tips it in. 144, 143 is the score at that point. Hawks back in the lead. But here comes Josh Hart. He was fouled on drive on Georges Niang's fifth foul. The Atlanta Hawks defense was characterized by high foul rate. Georges Niang had 5. Dyson Daniels had 5. Caris LeVert had 5. Terrence Mann had 4. 4 fouls in just 16 minutes. Dominic Barlow had 3 fouls. Onyeka Okongwu, 3 fouls. Trae Young, 2. The Hawks did not quite have a defensive answer to the Knicks other than fouling, although it was a fairly effective strategy. The Hawks, overall, it felt like Karl-Anthony Towns' three-point ball was the answer. In games past, we'd see Karl-Anthony Towns miss some of those open shots, some of those contested shots, and that would be pretty much the difference in the game. And today's game, he made those. So going back to overtime, Trae Young, he attempted a fadeaway three-point shot after the Josh Hart free throws at 2-minute, 6-second mark. Looked like a sloppy offensive possession. I'd count that as bad as a turnover. And here comes Acuña, Precious Acuña. He gets a dunk on the other end. Wide open right under the basket. 147, 144. 1 minute, 5-second mark. Dyson Daniels, he's fouled by Jalen Brunson out of bounds. And Trae Young, he gets a nice floater shot there. His final points of the game, his 38th point. But only pulling the Hawks within a 1-point deficit. 147-146 Knicks. 43-second mark, the New York got awarded a timeout when they did not possess the ball. It seemed like an odd play, odd call. The joke was on them, though, as they would have to burn a timeout, and they would not score after that. The Hawks would get the ball back. Onyeka Okongwu would get the free throw line at the 24-second mark and make both of them. 148, 147 Hawks. That aforementioned Jalen Brunson there at the 11-second mark had what felt like the absolute dagger, hitting a nice fadeaway jump shot. 149, 148. The Hawks, they had a chance on the other end. Trae Young and Georges Niang both got off shots. Trae Young was driving towards the basket. There was a little bit of contact. Felt like it was a decent no call. Could have been a foul, but late game situations, NBA seems to be a little bit tight. Georges Niang, he then had an open corner jump shot. Felt like hoping for that to go in. Hawks would have won the game at the buzzer. Did not happen. Tough game for the Atlanta Hawks going into the break and just went on a nice little winning streak. Have to look back at the standings and as well how the Magic did. We're still in 8th place or not. Next game is versus the Orlando Magic on next Thursday. I think that's the 20th. Hopefully, can't say that. Let's just say after the tough events and Monday's game, we'll hoping to get a nice victory again over the Magic and maybe embarrass them some. So we're already looking forward to the Atlanta Braves season. Of course, after the absolutely devastating injury to Jalen Johnson, the trajectory of the Atlanta Hawks have changed. Just imagine if the Atlanta Hawks made this trade for DeAndre Hunter and still had Jalen Johnson. Things would be very interesting right now for Atlanta Hawks. And DeAndre Hunter, he's been playing well for the Cavaliers, having a nice shooting performance in his debut. But you got 3 different players, and of course you also had to trade away Bogey. So in upcoming episodes, we'll check in on how Bogey and DeAndre Hunter are doing there on their new teams. But for now, we're about to switch to the Atlanta Braves. The Braves season's coming up February 12th. Pitchers Catchers Report. February 18th is their first official full team workout. Maybe they'll have a little bit of a scrimmage, maybe some live BP, things like that. Then February 22nd, I believe it's first the Twins, they'll have their first spring training game. Things are gearing up here for the Atlanta Braves. Aforementioned, the Pitchers Catchers Report is the first day that teams are officially allowed by Major League Baseball to place players on the IL. So, anticipating, dreading when the Atlanta Braves eventually place Joe Jimenez on the IL. Of course, he was announced to be out for the year last fall. So, we'll wait and see when the Braves officially place him on the 60-day IL, which would clear an extra roster space. Hopefully they sign a pitcher. I still advocate them in this late hour, after pitchers have already reported to spring training, still add either Luis Garcia or Kyle Finnegan. Would be just amazing reliever to add. Luis Garcia is a veteran. Kyle Finnegan, younger arm, but a lot of upside potential. Of course, Raisel Iglesias' contract, I believe, is expiring after this season. So we have to find a closer answer long term. Could Kyle Finnegan potentially be an option? He only has, I believe, a 3-pitch mix. He's been showing a 3-pitch mix there. And with the Washington Nationals, well, I've got all these answers and more on my game notes there for season notes there. Season preview notes there for Atlanta Braves. We're going to dive into all that and more. About to do a quick station broadcast identification, and then I'm going to dive into a couple pre-recorded segments, some highlights, pictures, videos, and commentary over that, which I recorded in my travels and ventures to Atlanta Braves games. I went to Philadelphia in August. I ventured deep into enemy territory there, and it was a nice time. It was hot in Atlanta whenever I left. It was nice and cool in Philadelphia. I was drinking beers. I was eating some pizza. I did not wear a Braves jersey. I had a instrument shirt on, but I did have a Braves World Championship hat on. I did not get my hat tilted off or taken away. I was not harassed in any way. A nice time. Maybe if I wore a Braves jersey while I was there, it might have been different. Who knows? I might try to go back there sometime. Like I said, late August, it was hot as heck here in Atlanta, and going to Philadelphia where it's nice and cool there at night there with the Philly breeze, it was a nice time. So this is the BOS Sports Podcast. Quick station identification, and then some nice 2024 highlights. So here we go, back from August 30th, my trip to Philadelphia, seeing Phillies, Braves, August 30th, a game which the Braves won 7-2. 6-pitch, Joe Jimenez to Bryce Harper here, the bottom of the 8th inning, 1-2 pitch, fouled off, 87-mile-an-hour slider. Bryce Harper had a 10-pitch at-bat. We're really going to miss Joe Jimenez in 2025. Of course, he was announced last fall, being announced out for the year. Here comes a 7-pitch, 2-2. Slider down, ball. And here comes the 8th pitch to Bryce Harper. Joe Jimenez in 2024 had a 2.62 ERA, a sub-1 whip with 0.99, and 68.2 innings pitched. Another ball, 3-2 count. Bryce Harper, fastball up, 95.8 miles an hour. Really wish the Braves would sign another high leverage righty. There's still Kyle Finnegan, Luis Garcia out there for the Braves here on this date of February 12th, 2025. Ninth pitch to Bryce Harper, 95 mile an hour fastball. And it was an absolutely brilliant inning by Joe Jimenez. You get 3 out of the 4 batters faced out, including there's, I believe, a fan ran on the field. So here Bryce Harper goes up the middle to Michael Harris, center field, base hit. But here's another video from that night. Interesting thing that the Phillies did. They had an Elvis entertainer there. Don't have much comments for this. It was a nice, cool night there. A windy breeze. It's nice being in Philadelphia. Cool air, cool weather. I'd like to go back there. Citizens Bank Park in the summer heat of Atlanta in August. Perfect weather to eat, drink outside. It's a cool 60-ish degrees. Can even dip into the upper 50s a little bit. Get a little bit nippy. But it's a nice change of pace from the summer heat, the 90s, 100s of Atlanta. Here you see the bullpen chilling out there. I'm sure they enjoy cooling off a little bit. Here's Brian Snitker, the Braves dugout. You can see Max Fried. Miss him. Marcell Ozuna at bat, wearing the yellow protective gear. Grant Holmes, we'll see what kind of year he has for Atlanta Braves this season. And here's some pictures from April. And here's A.J. Smith's shopper from 2023. We'll see if he continues to grow. He's been really growing athletically. Ronald Acuña Jr., hope he comes back strong this year. So here we go. Dodgers Braves, September 16th. Had to go. Tickets were inexpensive. Shohei Ohtani, Max Fried. It's up the middle. Whit Merrifield comes home. Miguel Rojas is safe. Part of a 9-0 Dodgers defeat over the Braves. Hope the Braves have more success over the Dodgers in 2025. Here as well some more pictures from my trip to Philadelphia, late August. Aforementioned, that weather was nice. Michael Harris had that absolute highlight catch. Did not get that on video, unfortunately. So I'll be back in just a second with the Big Braves season preview. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So to state last season with 89 wins, all the devastating injuries, it felt like an absolute nightmare for us Atlanta Braves fans. But we've got hope here in this 2025 season. And coming up, what I'd like to see from the Braves and what I'd like to continue advocate is for them to add a high leverage reliever. There's still 2 nice names out there in the free agent market here today as of February 13th, 2025. Luis Garcia or Kyle Finnegan would both be great options for the Atlanta Braves. So today, I'm going to break down what I'd like to see from the Atlanta Braves, as well, breaking down the struggles of some of our key players last season, 2024, which led to the 89 win season and downtick from 2 previous 100-win seasons, as well as reactions to Mark Bowman's predicted opening day roster, an early look at Braves spring training and regular season schedule. So the big news today is that Brian Snitker on MLB Network gave an update on Ronald Acuña Jr. and Spencer Strider. And to the surprise of not many, he did not give much of an update, as he gave a very a fairly vague statement there on Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuña. He reported that Spencer Strider has thrown a side session, which hopefully that means that's off a mound. Throwing off the mound is one of the last progressions to returning to Major League action and recovering from Tommy John surgery. Of course, Spencer Strider, he got the UCL brace procedure by Dr. Meister, invented by Dr. Meister as well. We see Shohei Ohtani coming back from that same procedure. We see reports of Shohei Ohtani's elbow being just fine and doing dandy here, but he's going to be delayed as well until at least May, as he had shoulder surgery himself at the end of last season. So back to the Braves, Ronald Acuña Jr., Brian Snitker, of course, gave an update on him as well. He said that Ronald Acuña Jr. is not cutting yet, which I interpret that as meaning no aggressive lateral movement action. That is pretty concerning to hear prior to a potential season of baseball. To be honest, we want ideally we want Ronald Acuña Jr. to be healthy and fine, doing lateral movements into an off season, and we're hearing that prior to the start of a season. In the first day of spring training. To me, I'm worried that he might even potentially be a candidate for the 60-day IL, which if he's put on that prior to the March 27th opening day, he'd have to stay out for 60 days. And I wouldn't honestly be opposed to that. I love Ronald Acuña Jr. I want him to be productive. I want him to be Ronald Acuña Jr. for the rest of the decade. I want him to re-sign with the Braves, be a Braves player for life. So if I'm thinking of long-term health of Ronald Acuña Jr., and he's not cutting, doing aggressive lateral movements already, I'm thinking that I don't want to bring him back, if I don't have to, until the summer. Maybe not even the All-Star break, at least in outfield. DH might be an option. Of course, that's occupied by Marcell Acuña. We saw in a social media post last fall, Marcell Acuña appeared to lose significant weight. But we've also seen, I believe, in January, he shared some more social media content. It appeared like he maybe put some of that back on. So it looked like he was going to be in prime outfielder shape, maybe returning back to his former self there on the Marlins, his Gold Glove winning self, Gold Glove caliber, that is. A little bit hairy mess, but again, dive into later this episode. Feel positive about Jared Kelenick's potential this year, especially working with the new hitting coach, Tim Hires. We can get into that a little bit later on here. So the Atlanta Braves, they're in an amazing window of 7 years in a row in the playoffs. Of course, last year was the first year we did not win the division. We're still in a playoff streak, which by standards, teams like the Dodgers and Astros, who we've seen in the prior decade and recent years, making the playoffs every year. This is about the status we want the Braves to be in Major League Baseball, being one of the contenders annually. And hopefully, of course, staying healthy, that will, of course, contribute to being more successful in the postseason. But unfortunately, we've been fairly healthy in our last 15 tries. Last year's attempt in the postseason was our 16th attempt in the postseason in the new millennium of the 2000s. In those 16 attempts in the postseasons, we've only advanced in the playoffs 3 times. And that includes the 2020 season, which us Braves fans call Mickey Mouse. When we're trying to talk trash to Dodgers fans, we call the 2020 playoffs Mickey Mouse. But what that is really doing to us Braves is furthering the narrative that we're regular season merchants, that the franchise is regular season merchants, because we've only advanced 3 times in the playoffs in 16 years. they have a little bit of a point. Hopefully, things turn around. And, of course, it's a stark contrast. None of the 90s Braves, thankfully, are rolling in their graves. But if they were dead, they certainly would be at the fact of this, as the Braves, every year they went to the playoffs in the 90s, they advanced at least once in the playoff series. The Braves have done that only 3 times in 16 tries since the turn of the millennium. And, of course, the ownership has changed. It's no longer the Ted Turner Braves, now the Liberty Media Braves. And we'll dive into that a little bit more as well in this episode. Speculated they're trying to stay under the first tier of the luxury tax penalty. They've been over the luxury tax for the last 2 years, and third year in Major League Baseball that incurs a 50% overage charge for all salary amounts over the $241 million luxury tax. There's speculation in the trade that the Braves might be sold. Should be a form of trade. And they're trying to position themselves to be better suited for a sale. Of course, Alex Anthopoulos stated last fall that the Braves payroll would remain about the same coming into this year. And right now, we're just hoping for them to sign Luis Garcia, who's projected to be in the single digits of millions in average annual value. And he would be an absolute stalwart and nice potential candidate to replace Joe Jimenez. You can go look at his Baseball Savant page. It looks nice. Got nice peripherals. Of course, his ERA and hardline numbers suffer a little bit. We'll get into his numbers a little bit more in the podcast. I believe he had a 4.04 FIP in 2024, did Luis Garcia, which was better than Kyle Finnegan's. Of course, Luis Garcia being a veteran, he has a wider pitch mix compared to Kyle Finnegan's. We're about to get into that in just a bit. So, aforementioned, complete embarrassment. We're no longer the team of the 90s. We're the 2000s Braves who are regular season merchants. Oh, devastating. So the biggest storylines, of course, for Atlanta Braves are Ronald Acuña Jr. and Spencer Strider coming back. Strider already reported pitching off a mound, doing bullpen sessions. Expect him back and strong very soon, May, June. Back and strong. I'd expect full health. See how the UCL brace thing holds up. It's a new procedure. Ronald Acuña Jr. with the report that he's not doing aggressive lateral movements. Aforementioned, would like for him to have been doing that going into the off season. Going into an off season healthy is very big. Staying healthy the next year, as we saw with Chris Sale in 2023-2024. Chris Sale went into 2023 to 2024 off season healthy. He stayed healthy most of the year. So, as well, what's going to happen with the starting rotation? We got some positive news out of San Diego. Padres, they signed Nick Pivetta, which increases the chances for Dylan Cease to potentially be traded. They now have Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Michael King, will probably be their ace. And then they also have Matt Waldron and a mix of other prospects they can throw in there at the 5th and potentially 6th starting rotation spot. So Dylan Cease trade might make more sense for them now, although I'm still very pessimistic the possibility of the Braves getting the deal done, especially with the remarks quoted by Alex Anthopoulos in an interview today that they would do it if it's a decent deal. Ugh. You get talent when you can get talent, especially Dylan Cease. Especially when the Braves are looking at Mark Bowman had Ian Anderson, Grant Holmes, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, and Spencer Schwellenbach as our projected opening day starters. I mean, Chris Sale, of course, he had the Cy Young. He won the Cy Young. He didn't completely finish the season. He did have some injuries there at the end. Reynaldo Lopez, he had injuries in his first major season, throwing innings since 2019. As well as Spencer Schwellenbach, his first major league season. Dylan Cease would be a fortification. I'd like to see the Braves a little bit more, try out their prospects. I'm really interested in Drew Hackenberg. Really interested in AJ Smith-Shawver, Christian Waldrop. I'm not sure the situation on Dylan Cease. Maybe that might be a little bit flexible during spring training. AJ Smith-Shawver and Hurston Waldrop are both on the 40-man roster, so they'll get a look in spring training. We'll see how they look. Aforementioned, I'd like the Braves to consider a 6-man rotation where they have Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach, Grant Holmes, and some combination of Ian Anderson as well. Sale, Lopez, Schwellenbach, Ian Anderson, Holmes, and maybe some kind of mix of the younger guys. Hurston Waldrop for Spencer Schwellenbach. As well, looking further down the pitching prospects, Ian Mejia's right down the door. Drew Hackenberg, was in Double-A, I believe. No, he got to Triple-A. Yes, he's pitching in Gwinnett already. I speculate a little bit with Drew Hackenberg. They're hoping for the Hurston Waldrop, AJ Smith-Shawver, Ian Anderson to be somewhat a stopgap for them to have starting pitching answers. And even some high leverage, some nice starting pitchers. With Mark Bowman putting Ian Anderson in the opening day roster, I'm thinking the Braves are expecting high things out of Ian Anderson in 2025. So I'm very hopeful of those prospects. But with Drew Hackenberg, he's not a spring training invitee. Of course, we saw Spencer Schwellenbach rise up to the major leagues after not being in the major league camp last year. We could potentially see that with Drew Hackenberg as well, but we have to remember that happened out of necessity due to injury with the Spencer Strider. Unfortunate, tragic news going down with the UCL brace, Tommy John surgery, so we don't want that to happen. We want all of our pitchers to do well, but I'm suing the Braves not inviting Drew Hackenberg spring training. They want to try to keep him off that 40-man roster, keep his service time low, keep him under control for as long as possible. I've compared Drew Hackenberg to Nolan Ryan. He's a very hard-throwing right-handed pitcher, high strikeout rate, a lot of exciting things to be excited about for Drew Hackenberg in the near and long-term future. We'll see how things play out with the rest of the prospects. So Juan Carlos Lara as well is lurking. He's Double-A there for the Braves. Knocking on the door. Nice pitching, nice stats in 2022. Luis Davila and Hayden Harris are two prospects who might be options from the left side out of the bullpen. Of course, they just added Jake Diekman as a spring training invitee. Jake Diekman is just year 2 removed from some nice pitching. Mid-90s fastball. Got a nice pitch mix from the left side. Potential. He has a comeback year. Be a nice ad for the Braves from left side. Potential high leverage options. Well, he has a big comeback. So Hayden Harris, aforementioned, with that disappearing fastball from the left side. He's a little bit like Paul Sewald, but from the left side. If we see any injuries to relievers from left side, see him or Luis Davila. Luis Davila is a bit further down prospects in Double-A. Hayden Harris are in Triple-A, although with mixed results. So, big headline news from the Atlanta Braves this offseason. Jurickson Profar, star from San Diego Padres. We just saw him knock us out in the postseason last year. Now he's one of us. Yeah. Imagine if that happened with the Phillies. So the Braves shortstop woes as well. Big question, will Orlando Arcia find himself at the plate? We've seen him high of highs and low of lows for Orlando Arcia. Nacho Alvarez, will we need him this year? Will he turn out to a big league player? Nacho, he had some struggles with power in Double-A in 2024. Of course, going to Triple-A, a little bit lighter pitching. He had some breakout home runs there in June. Tough numbers, tough times for Nacho Alvarez there in major league level in his short stint with the Braves in 2024. So we're going to continue with some more great Braves. The big BOS Sports episode 50 Braves preseason, a season preview extravaganza here. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So, with the departure of Travis d'Arnaud to the Angels, who's going to be the Braves' backup catcher? I really thought that Kurt Casale or Sandy Leone might be a very likely option for the Braves, but Mark Bowman feels like Chadwick Trump will make the opening day roster as he's in his opening day roster prediction. As mentioned in BOS Sports episode 48, I stated that the decision of the backup catcher would likely be made by the pitchers as opposed to what we might see in spring training stats as opposed to batting. And Chadwick Trump is very liked, and we see great chemistry between him and our top pitchers, such as Reynaldo Lopez, Chris Sale. Feels like he's a great great fit as far as being a backstop there for some of our top end starters. And that'll happen some. Of course, he'll get some Sunday day games if he is backup catcher there. And that'll fall on some very choice starts from our starting pitchers. Some of our starting pitchers looking for Cy Young caliber, all-star caliber years, such as Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwallenbach. They'll all be looking for all-star years. Ian Anderson to the 2025 MLB All-Star Game. That would be pretty cool. Comeback player of the year if he did that. So, Drake Baldwin, the hot Braves prospect, left-hand hitter, just like Brian McCann. He catches from the right side. Haven't had a left-hand throwing catcher since the 80s. In an MLB game, Drake Baldwin's not going to be a first. As Drake Baldwin, he throws from the right side, hits from the left. He's going to be getting more reps there in AAA, most likely, unless there's some kind of injury. But as the Braves gear up, and if they're in a trajectory to have a nice playoff run, could see him being called up as soon for regular playing time with Sean Murphy healthy as soon as around the All-Star break. As you want to get if you're going to have Drake Baldwin be your backup catcher in the playoffs, then you're going to want him to have a large amount of reps in major league level. So, can the Braves finally win a playoff series in 2025? Can they make it 4-17 this year? I'd really like them to sign a relief pitcher. A couple that I've targeted and mentioned previous episodes. Tommy Naily, Danny Colm, they both fine. Brian Snitker off the board as well. Luis Garcia sold around. Nice sinker baller. Kyle Finnegan is out there as well. The Braves just brought in Jake Diekman as a non-roster invite to spring training. Previously, I've stated that Andrew Chafin and Jalen Beeks would be nice adds as far as lefty options. I feel like Jake Diekman sort of fits that role. I'd hope that they can work out some kind of non-guaranteed split contract where Jake Diekman can be optioned to the minor leagues for the Braves. Continue to be depth. He's well-built, well over 6 foot, left-handed pitcher, throws hard from left side. Potentially be up there with Angel Perdomo in the mix to potentially be a high-leverage lefty for the Braves. It'd be quite an upward trajectory, but as we've seen with Tyler Matzik, sometimes these things happen and happen in the Braves organization. So I've advocated, and I continue to advocate for Atlanta Braves to consider a 6-man rotation, and they can still do that while adding one of these relievers, Luis Garcia or Kyle Finnegan, I've been ranting about. So that rotation will look like Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Spencer Schwellenbach, Grant Holmes, Ian Anderson, and then one of A.J. Smith-Shawver or Hurston Waldrop, giving them a nice look there at the major league level. As well as we saw Chris Sale and Reynaldo Lopez, they needed extra rest last spring. So you give Reynaldo Lopez, Chris Sale extra rest, and Ian Anderson, coming off Tommy John, might want extra rest. Grant Holmes, he was a reliever last year, might want extra rest. Spencer Schwellenbach, first full major league season, and he had Tommy John a couple of years ago as well. Give them all an extra day of rest. Do a 6-man rotation. Give A.J. Smith-Shawver or Hurston Waldrop. If they have a nice spring training, give them 2 starts or whatever in April. We're already thinking of Bryce Elder potentially starting some point this year. It gets down to it, so I'd like to see the Braves go off with a 6-man rotation, and they can still do that and have a nice bullpen of Raisel Iglesias, Pierce Johnson, Aaron Bummer, Dylan Lee, who has 2 options, Daysbel Hernandez, who has 2 options. Upswing for Daysbel Hernandez, finally making the opening day roster after starting off in the minor leagues previously. Angel Perdomo coming back from Tommy John. And then you can still sign Kyle Finnegan, Luis Garcia. And there you go. You have 7 relievers and 6 starting pitchers. Grant Holmes, he can transfer to being a relief pitcher when Spencer Strider comes back. There might be a little bit of a tough decision made if all of our pitchers are healthy and balling out the time Spencer Strider comes back. We have to option somebody like Daysbel Hernandez. That's just a blessing of abundance there. So usually we see some injuries, so the more depth, the better for the Atlanta Braves. Aforementioned Hayden Harris, Luis Davia, names to look out for if the Braves get very injured there in the relief corps. So some of the Braves that we hope to turn things around in 2025. Of course, starting catcher Sean Murphy, 72 games in 2024. He went out on opening day with a oblique injury to Philadelphia. Absolutely embarrassing, losing one of our starting players to our fiercest rival. He batted on the season in 72 games, 193 batting average, 10 home runs, 25 RBIs. The question is, will him and Tim Hires work on a less aggressive swing? He injured himself on a swing, injured the oblique. The swing is very aggressive, oblique heavy. I feel like a swing like that, his power, his his nice barrel rate that he makes, would highly play well in October. And the cold weather at Truist Park, you need to hit the hell out of the baseball to hit it out of the park. And Sean Murphy does just that with his violent swing. But if they cut things down a little bit, how will things look? Will he remain? Will he stay healthier for the rest of the year? Something to watch out for. In the early spring training games, how does Sean Murphy's swing look compared to last year? As well, Michael Harris II. Will he finally become the player I think he has the potential to be? I think he has the potential to be like Mookie Betts from left side. Perennial MVP candidate there. The last season we saw him average 264. When he first came to the league, we saw him averaging around 300. That's where we'd like him to be, at or above 300. And he'll likely be the leadoff hitter for Atlanta Braves. We'll probably see some combination of Michael Harris, maybe Ozzie Albies second, maybe Austin Riley second, maybe Marcell Ozuna, Matt Olson. I don't expect any surprises to this Braves starting lineup. I think they just hope for them to perform better. As well, Michael Harris, he played in 101 games, 16 home runs, 48 RBIs, 58 runs scored. The struggle of the year. But we can find some promise in his advanced metric and his average exit velocity of his hits when he makes contact. He averaged 90.5 miles per hour, the same as Mookie Betts' career average. And a little bit above the career average, league average as well. League average exit velocity is 88.5. Hard hit percentage, 47%. Barrel percentage for Michael Harris II in 2024, 10%. For Mookie Betts' career average is 8.2%, although he averaged up around there as well. So keys for Michael Harris in 2024, have a good eye at the plate, be patient as well. Not every hit has to be a home run. So Matt Olson, go for a bit more contact there, Michael suggests. Aforementioned, not every hit has to be a home run. Matt Olson, he had a batting average 247 in 2024. Another Atlanta Brave who struggled. 29 home runs for Matt Olson after seeing 40-plus last year. 98 RBIs after seeing a franchise record last year. 77 runs, 142 hits, 156 games played. He was there all season. He was healthy. And things did not go great for Matt Olson. The keys for Matt Olson, for him to refine and stick to a game plan with his swing with Tim Hires. Matt Olson has some questions in his swing mechanics. Hopefully they figure those out. As well, he hit breaking pitches and fastball pitches well at a good clip. But off-speed pitches, split, change, fork, screwball is where Matt Olson significantly lacked in 2024 and could use improvement, especially with key split ball throwers. Yoshini Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, Zach Wheeler has one, but with a low usage. As well, Ranger Suarez and Aaron Nola from our key rival, the Phillies. They have changeups they pull out. Kodai Senga, of course, in division with a ghost fork. Blake Snell has a changeup as well. While we're talking pitching, the Mets, they signed former Yankees reliever Clay Holmes as a starter. That'll be an interesting development as he features a sinker, slider, sweeper mix. No traditional fastball, kind of like Corbin Burns having a cutter there. The Braves lineup in general, they struggled against 12-6 break. So, how will the Braves fare against Clay Holmes here in 2024. That will be an interesting development. The Braves struggling versus 12-4 break. I identified as a problem as early as the middle of April 2024. I ranted about it, and the Braves continued to struggle about it throughout the summer and rest of the season. Kevin Seitzer got fired. The rest of history. Not that my word has any leverage on that. So Jared Clarenick, he has similar formula as Matt Olson. And I have some high hopes for Jared Clarenick. I hope he'll get back on track. It'd be huge for Atlanta Braves as he's under control for most of the rest of the decade. Similar formula as Matt Olson getting back on track. He needs to fix the swing with the coaching staff and then stick to the game plan. Trust the process. We saw him have an adjusted swing last spring training. He really struggled, only getting 8 hits all spring training. And then all of a sudden, and once opening day started, he started off hot with his new kind of swing that he's going on there. And then he started to struggle some, and then we started to see his swing mechanics revert back more to what we saw with the Mariners. And with Kevin Seitzer, the hitting instructor, notably and infamous for emphasizing launch angle. Not sure if the swing adjustments made with Jared Clarenick's swing last spring were maybe the final answer. Maybe it was going backwards and reverting to Clarenick's original swing might have been the best answer long term. Of course, we'll see that this year, and if any adjustments occur as well. We'll see Jared Clarenick in a short window of time starting before Ronald Acuña Jr. comes back, so we'll need him to be a productive part of the lineup. He had 231 batting average. That's actually higher than I remember for Jared Clarenick on 2024 season. But then you look at the on-base percentage and you say, oh, that's what I remember. 286 on-base percentage for Jared Clarenick. And he struggled with not only breaking, but also off-speed pitches. So for Jared Clarenick, it was a double doozy. He had good numbers versus the fastball, hitting it at 258 clip. And 79 of his 133 strikeouts occurred on breaking pitches, breaking and off-speed pitches. Despite being thrown breaking and off-speed pitches 46.6% of the time, Jared Clarenick saw a majority of his strikeouts on breaking pitches and off-speed pitches. So Ozzie Albies, fan favorite, only under contract control for this year and the next 2 years. As next 2 seasons, the Braves have club options. Of course, he had that shoulder surgery prior to the 2023 season. There have been some defensive questions since then. Last year, he had another injury-riddled year. He batted .251 with 10 home runs compared to 33 home runs in 2023. With 53 runs bad, and he had a fractured toe, wrist fracture, 2 stints on the IL. He only played 99 games. Feels like a pause for station identification moment. This is the BOS Sports Podcast. So back to Ozzie Albies. I feel like his key for 2025, turning around his season offensively, is to stay healthy. Seems like whenever he stayed healthy in his career and had a long sample size of at-bats, a long time to adjust to what the league's trying to throw at him, feel like he's fairly successful and very plus bat there with contact and plate. Defensive concerns aforementioned as what I fear long term with Ozzy Albies is he's not quite shown the same zip throwing the ball to first base since his shoulder surgery prior to 2023 season. So Austin Riley, he as well was not exempt from the Braves injury bug in 2024. He only played 110 games as on August 18th. He was announced as having a broken hand after suffering a hit by pitch. And September 27th, Mark Bowman gave us the terrible update that he would not even be available for the postseason. He batted .256. He was struggling prior to the injury. He had decent on-base percentage of .322, decent slugging percentage of .461, but still not quite the Austin Riley that we'd like to see. 19 home runs, 56 RBIs, 63 runs scored. All right. Well, we're in the downhill segment here. Struggling with some papers falling off here. My stand. Run down Mark Bowman's opening day roster preview. Give some reactions. Not many surprises. Of course, aforementioned, he put Chadwick Tromp as the backup catcher. I thought Sandy Leon, Kurt Casale might be a shot there for opening day roster. Maybe they still are. Aforementioned, it'll be up to the pitchers to decide mostly, as opposed to what we see in batting statistics for the opening day roster catcher as the backup catcher. Need our rotation members to have a catcher they trust, have good chemistry with. And Chadwick Tromp, he checks off all the boxes there. The solid pick there. If we get the unfortunate news that one of them is injured, we have Kurt Casale, Sandy Leon. Options there. Be options there in AAA. At least one of them there. And we'll not have to bring up Drake Baldwin right away if there is an unfortunate injury early. So, first baseman, second baseman, shortstop, third base, all on lockdown. Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies, Orlando Arcia, Austin Riley, all the fan favorites. And you might say, well, where's Nick Williams, Luke Williams? Well, they're classified as utility players, as they can as well play a little bit around the field, around the diamond. So, as well, they have in non-roster invitees, Eddie Alvarez, Garrett Cooper is an interesting name for the Braves non-roster invitees, Jose Devers, Charles LeBronc, Luke Waddell, all potentials to potentially fill one of those bench/utility spots that Mark Bowman projected to be with Nick Allen or Luke Williams. So, DH as well, Marcell Ozuna, filled slot. Projected outfielders will have Michael Harris second, Jurickson Profar, Jared Kelenic, Brian De La Cruz, no surprises there. Starting pitchers, only 5. Whoa! I want them to go with 6. The Braves are very set in their ways as organization. Asking them to now go with 6 starting pitchers on opening day, I don't think they've ever done that in the history of the franchise. Tall task for an organization that's set in their ways. I'd really like to have them give a look. If Ian Anderson, Kirsten Waldrop, and AJ Smith-Shawver all look nice in spring training, or at least 2 of those 3 do, give 2 of them a nice look. Give them a couple starts, and who knows, maybe have the loser out there. Ian Anderson, I don't think he has any options, so that's going to be a tough situation. Relief pitchers. He has Rizal. He has 8, so he has 5 and 3. I wanted 6 and 7. He has 5 and 3. 8 relief pitchers: Rizal Iglesias, Pierce Johnson, Dylan Lee, Aaron Bummer, Daysbel Hernandez, Aaron Perdomo, comeback season, Aaron Perdomo, Anderson Pilar, Danny Jimenez. He's got a huge slider, kind of like Ben Heller, a little bit of modest whiff rate, 35.5%. You like to see a higher whiff rate from one of those breaking ball heavy relief pitchers. But the opponents only hit 185 off it as well in 2024. In 2023, opponents only hit 0.77 off of Danny Jimenez's slider. So nice option there and bullpen. And as well, Braves have some non-roster invitees. They just announced the other day Chad Cole, Jake Diekman, Dylan Covey. All potential there to contest for Anderson Pilar or Danny Jimenez spot on Mark Bowman's projected roster. Although I advocate again, Luis Garcia or Kyle Finnegan would be a blessing to have in the relief pen with the aforementioned mix of non-roster invitees, Anderson Pilar, Danny Jimenez, all that good stuff. All right. So some financial projections for my prize relief pitchers, targets and free agency. Kyle Finnegan is projected to be in the 11 to 14 million AAV range, which would put the Braves over the first tier of the luxury tax. While Luis Garcia, he was projected on Sport Track to be around 1 million, which did not look too correct. His ERA suffered a little bit, but his peripherals, as far as FIP, 4.04 FIP, and his other stats as far upper mid 90s fastball is six pitch mix as well for Luis Garcia. Kyle Finnegan's only shown a 3-pitch mix, which is a little bit concerning. And coming this late into preseason, if he does not already have a 4th pitch already on the way, probably not going to happen here in 2025. You never know with the Braves. And, of course, they just had great curveballer and Max Fried. And they've seen some players pick up pitches from some of their veterans. Chris Sale is in right now. Obviously, as Brave starter. Probably see him on opening day. Opening day is March 27th versus the Padres. 4:10 or 4:15 p.m. Eastern start. Got that start time, the slider. Then the Braves, they open on a 6-game road trip in California, facing the Dodgers. Miami Marlins after that, at home. Opening series, opening day, March is April 4th. For Atlanta Braves, home opener, April 4th, versus Miami Marlins. Hopefully be a fish fry. I finally got a ticket, I believe somewhere in the Cardinals series in April. Looking forward to some Atlanta Braves baseball. It's nice to be there at Truist Park in April when things are nice and cool. You can down a ton of beers there. What I like to do is I like to go to Sushi Village beforehand, get some sushi buffet, load up on that great protein there, and then go into Truist, have some beers. And that's, of course, key and essential to do in cold weather, as if you make that combination hot weather, Vomitville, you might get a little bit sick. So nice to enjoy Truist Park while you can in cool weather. I got a ticket there in April. Encourage others to do the same. So we'll have our next BOS Sports podcast. Won't be for another week. Woo. As February 20th, might have a little bit of Braves there. Next podcast, BOS Sports Podcast episode, February 20th, after Hawks versus Magic. The Hawks hope to get revenge after Orlando Magic took out Pete Krejci and Larry Nance Jr. Of course, by revenge, I mean by winning the game. Of course, nothing more than that. So, thanks for streaming, listening, watching this episode of the BOS Sports Podcast. Be sure to stream previous episodes of the BOS Sports Podcast, although this one is probably the best. Stream Bar Soap, music on Spotify. And we'll see you in 8 days, February 20th. Whoa. He's sad with no BOS Sports Podcast.